Ladies and gentlemen, a very good day. I come to you today from downtown Georgetown, Guyana, and my heart is very heavy. It is heavy because I am looking at the unfolding of a situation in our, with regards to our prison situation in Guyana, and I want to arrogantly say that if the successive administrations had listened to me, Wendell Jeffrey, this would not likely have happened. And the reason I'm saying that is because ever since 2009, I have been proposing to the government. It was the last government, the PPP government, was in power when I came back to Guyana. And I was proposing to them a system that they have refused to implement. And the reason I'm saying that I'm arrogantly saying that if they had listened to me, this would not have happened is because they have not since set up the system. So nobody has set up the system. A system, a best practice system that we all know can work. It works in other countries. And so if it was me that they had a problem with, then they should have had somebody else who they trust and who they like and who acquiesces to their political ideology or whatever it is that they wanted. And then they should have had that person or those people put the system in place. But before I get further, I want to tell you who I am. My name is Wendell Jeffrey. I studied theology at the Caribbean Union College, now the University of the Southern Caribbean. I went on to Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama, where I finished my ministerial degree at the bachelor levels. And then I went on to Andrews University to pursue my studies at the master's level in theology. While I was in the United States there, I also founded what is now called the Practical Christianity Ministries, where we deal with ex-offenders and recovering addicts. And over the years, what I have done is that I have specialized in criminology, in understanding the criminal mind, why people commit crime, why they continue to commit crime, what can be done to reduce the likelihood of them committing more crimes, and that kind of thing. And I honestly, I think, again, I'm talking arrogantly and I'm talking passionately, I think that I'm a specialist in the area, if only because I've done this all across the world. I've gone to Africa, I've gone to Canada, I've been across the United States, across the Caribbean, and whenever I speak, people who know the field and people who themselves are in the field, they listen to me and they take my advice and my solutions that I offer. And so I'm very hurt that I'm a Guyanese who have lived overseas so many years, have come back to Guyana, and cannot get my brothers and sisters to understand the need to implement these concepts that have been implemented across the world, in many places with my help and my suggestions. And so I have traveled extensively, and what I do, I go to prisons, I talk with the personnel there in the countries, I meet with prisoners and inmates, and I conjure programs for them on how they could reduce the likelihood of them coming back to prison. I deal with their children and their spouses and their parents and so on. But somehow, and I'm trying to be very objective. In Guyana here, there is a political climate that obtains, and it doesn't matter whether it's the current administration or the previous administration. There seems to be the need for you to agree with them on everything before they can bring you into the inner circle. And I'm saying that because I've spoken to Mr. Barajak Dio, I've spoken to Mr. Clement Rohi, I spoke to Gail Teixeira, I spoke to Dr. Luncheon, I spoke to Prime Minister Samuel Hines, and I've had several meetings with these people. I've spoken to them several times. I gave them the document that outlines how they could implement a prisoner rehabilitation program in Guyana with costing. We have the land, we'll construct a building, we'll get folks to come in that will offer remedial services by way of academic tutelage. We will deal with life skills, we will deal with behavioral problems, anger management, and so on. We'll deal with vocational skills, we'll deal with spiritual formation, whether the person is Muslim, Hindu, Baha'i, Christian, what. We will get people from their faith, people of faiths that they lean to. We'll have these people who will come into the center and address them. It's a whole complete package. And you know what they told me? Well, the last government, they raised three things they told me that caused them not to go with the program. One, they told me it was too expensive. They told me it was too expensive. I think at the time we were looking at somewhere between $40 and $60 million to construct the building, pay the people who will teach the classes and so on. So they told me it was too high. Bear in mind, when I spoke with the government in 2009, 2010, the last administration, and they told me that the $60 million was too expensive, they were spending $60 million a month to keep people locked up. Okay? The plan I have, I will get to that just now. So, I spoke with all these people in the last administration. So they told me, one, it was too expensive. Number two, they said to me that if they give the monies to a Christian organization, because I'm a Christian, I'm a pastor, and they say that if you give the money to a Christian organization, then the other organizations, the other religious organizations will cry foul and all of them will come asking for money. I said, but that don't make sense, because I did not come to you as a Christian asking for the money. I came with a program and a plan. And so if the other organizations or the other religious bodies want to come and ask for money, then they must then come to you with a similar plan, with similar outcomes. Okay? So that's the second thing. And then what they didn't tell me off the records, what they didn't tell me on the records, but I found out off the records, is that they were concerned about my political affiliation. And so I addressed this with the last Prime Minister, Mr. Brother Hines, and I love him and respect him very dearly. I went to his office and we had the same discussion. And he was of the mindset that, yes, Pastor Jeffrey, you have to declare your political affiliation. And he said, but why do I have to? And he joked. He said that if you're not with me, and you're not with the PPP, then I need to call Mr. Granger. That's what he said. Mr. Granger was then the opposition leader. He jokingly said that he has to call Mr. Granger because then I'm a dangerous guy, because I didn't acquiesce to any political lineage back then. And so we joked. But we all agreed that the program was needed. And so, for what will or for woe, that never materialized. You know, of course, what people do sometimes is that they nitpick at your personal life, and they harp on this and that. And I'm not perfect, and so if they are waiting to hire a perfect person, or if they're waiting to implement the program until the person who spearheads it is perfect, then that's a high bar for them to raise, for them to use. But so we are. So. What we have here is, if they had implemented the prison rehabilitation program, and let me just differentiate here because I'm a pastor, and what we have happening is that we have people who say, well, we have prison ministry, people go into the prison and they preach. That is prison ministry. I do prison ministry. That is not prisoner rehabilitation. When you deal with prisoner rehabilitation, you have to deal with the criminogenic needs of the prisoner. What are the criminogenic needs of the prisoner? The prisoner has a need for housing. When he comes out of prison, he needs to go somewhere. Okay? And he needs to go somewhere that would not provide the catalyst for him to repeat the behaviors. So he needs housing. Right? In the program that I offer, we dealt with that. How to provide housing. So we'll have a transitional housing. Then the ex-offender needs vocational skills. Okay? They have to learn something so that when they come out from prison and they are finished with the transitional housing, they can be gainfully employed. So they need the vocational skill. They need academic tutelage. Many of our incarcerated guys, especially the guys for the blue-collar crime guys, they have an academic challenge. So a part of the rehabilitation